So I want to begin a little before Essentia existed as a name or a company. Hardesh sir, what did your life look like before Essentia?
I think one of the things which I can definitely say that I had much more time. I'm an engineer, and I look at you know. So I was in Russia, which is not very usual, but I started my career in Russia, and after working for someone for a very short time, we went on our own. And उस समय the situation was that what are the opportunities? What can we do instead of what we want to do? You know that this is a very recent phenomenon where children have this I think this sense or this opportunity or this is how they plan to build or they go about planning their uh, working
In terms of
path.
exploration, also, right?
One, there are a lot more opportunities, and
Yes.
two, I think they also have this wherewithal they can afford to,
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
previous generation has most of them
For
they have
sure.
this opportunity here with them. When I was when I started my career, we didn't have that. So the only thing was what is available, what can you do,
Yeah.
and rather that what can you do was also never a consideration. What is available. So we started like that. So when we started our business, there also the thing was what can we do.
Okay.
Didn't have any money, didn't have any capital, had very small experience working in Russia. So we started doing some agro commodity trading simply because somebody was willing to give it to us on credit.
Okay.
Okay, so we got the raw materials and we said, okay, we'll try and sell it at keeping some margin for ourselves. So that's how we got started. Very interestingly, I was selling computers and peripherals.
Okay.
That was my core strength in Russia. I'd worked for that for a year and a half. And we thought if I can sell it for the organization, why can't I sell it for myself? And there were two of my other partners. And none of us stopped to think, where are we going to get it from? To sell it, you have to have it. Okay. And so when we started, so nobody was willing to give it to us on credit. They said, look, pay advance and you'll get the goods after 3 months, 4 months, so that idea fell flat, it was a non-starter. Then we said, okay, now that we have quit, we have submitted our resignation.
But you've been an entrepreneur, I would say, all your life.
I guess.
That knack to start something of your own, I don't think that's easy.
You're right. And I think one of the toughest decisions that any entrepreneur makes is when to start. Because there'll always be reasons, there'll always be justifiable reasons not to start or why it would not work, But then sometimes a little bit of insanity is also needed.
It is.
हो जाएगा, देखते हैं. Which is what I tell everyone, start, and then one analogy that I make very often is you can read as much as you want about swimming. You can observe all the videos, you can speak to the experts, but until you jump in deeper end, you're never going to learn. Now, even if you've not read anything and you continue to jump in day after day, you are going to pick up. Your technique may not be perfect, it may not be elegant, but you learn to swim. So ultimately, and I think entrepreneurship is no different. Jump in, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to sink one or two times. Make sure there's somebody to pull you up. But other than that, it's kind of safe.
So how did Essentia
come
sort
about?
of happen?
So we were doing very well actually, and then so we started agro commodity. Then we got into debt trading. So we incrementally gravitated towards financial services, and then this Asian currency crisis happened in '98, and I think that put a stop to that. But what it did was that suddenly real estate became very affordable.
Okay.
Because ruble took a nosedive and everything was priced in ruble. So when converted to dollars, things appeared very cheap.
Okay.
And again, because the opportunity was there, we ended up acquiring some assets. Having acquired them, we had no idea what to do. वो कहते हैं ना, बॉटल में हाथ दे दिया है तो जब तक खोलोगे नहीं निकलेगा नहीं, बाहर निकालने के लिए आपको मुट्ठी खोलनी पड़ेगी. So having done that, we realized we need to do something with it. Then somebody suggested that why don't you develop these assets? Why don't you fit them out, refurbish them, and then you might be able to get better value. And that exactly is how we got into this field. So we started fitting out those offices, put them on lease.
Okay, they were
The
commercial spaces.
commercial space.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the tenants outgrew. They said, okay, we're not finding these kind of spaces. So would you be able to do it for us?
Okay.
So somehow, again, it wasn't planned,
Yeah.
but this gave us a push into this direction.
So when Essentia was taking shape more than 2 decades ago,
Mhm.
what's something that still, comes back to you from that phase?
I think one is empathy, putting yourself in your client's shoes, understanding that for us it could be a business, but when we talk about building homes, particularly homes, it's a very emotional decision for the clients. And more often than not, irrespective of how deep your pockets are, it's still going to be a huge financial decision. Most of the times people end up investing all that they have. So we understand this responsibility, and I think having this understanding or the connect, that I think has not changed from the very first time. Even when we do commercial spaces, we understand that a lot of people are going to be on bench and they need a space to start working. So anytime you delay that or you give something which doesn't work as it should, it causes a disruption. And I think we understand that this disruption has caused both financial and emotional. So I think that hasn't changed from day one. Other than that, our says the knowledge of materials, our exposure, and I think clients' aspirations, they have been evolving. So they have been changing. But
So
basics remain the
how
same.
does that help you look at projects, or how do you sort of approach projects when you talk about empathy, or like clients, or fitting into clients' shoes?
First of all, see, even though we are in our 26th year, I still think of us as a startup.
Okay.
Hridik has just joined
Yeah.
last year and we took on another direction. And I think this is something which we have been doing continuously, adding more to our capabilities, increasing our offering. So we haven't had a chance to get into that complacent mindset. कि जो करना था हो गया. This is all we are going to do for the rest of the lives, because we have been augmenting our capabilities continuously. So what that does is it always, I think, whenever you do something for the first time, chances are you're likely to make mistake. Okay?
Of course.
And then what it does is it keeps you humble. When you get things wrong, so humility bani rehti hai. Okay? Which also allows us to be in that startup mindset. What does that mean? Ki revenue chahiye. That hunger for revenue. So when we look at a project, first of all, any project that we get, we say yes. Okay. Most of the time we have done something similar. Even when we have not done something similar, we are very confident that we'll be able to do that.
So you said that you've never said no to a project. Is that so? You've never said no to a project? You must have.
I can't think of something. I'm saying after having worked for somebody, we may feel we are not the right fit.
Okay. Yeah.
But generally, I give benefit of doubt to everyone.
Yeah.
So
yes.
But yeah.
Hridik, before you consciously became a part of Essentia, you were always around it, right? Like you sort of grew up with Essentia.
Yeah.
How was that like? Like, what were your earliest memories when you think back?
Oh, I think earliest memories were probably when I was in like first or second grade or third grade or something like that. And mom used to bring her layout files and like sit at home and like, do her thinking at times. And I remember even then giving her inputs and being like, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do
Really?
like that? I was just like whiling around. But then sometimes she was like, oh, yeah, actually that's a good
Minecraft
input.
experience.
Yeah, played a lot of Minecraft. So I was like, no, I'm a builder. So let me. But yeah, I think it was just, it was very like natural integration. Our earlier office was right next to our house. So I'd spend most of my time, at the office.
Yeah.
So I think just spending that time learning, imbibing, hearing all the pain points, the problems, etc. It gave me a push, gave me a kickstart so that when I actually joined formally, there was no teething issues per se.
Yeah.
I don't even think there was this formal joining thing.
Yeah,
also. I remember
very gradual
because our office was in the basement.
Yeah.
And Hridik is a very social person. He likes to be around people. So when he was like very young, first, second, third, fourth, doesn't matter. He'll come back from school and he'll come down. And I remember he used to sit in all the meetings. So he was around. That's it. He was a fixture. We had a dog, so was he. So was Hridik sir. So I don't think that there was one thing I feel sad a little this thing that he never had a choice. I think it was always a given that
he's going
to come and work with us, together.
But it was a conscious decision only to do that.
He just felt it was so natural.
It was like a slow pull rather than like a specific moment where you thought of joining Essentia.
I think at every given stage where, I had the choice, okay, whether should I do even if it was in high school or during college also, whether should I do an internship somewhere else or should I, spend 4 months in the summer coming to the office. The decision was always easy to take because the opportunity here was always different, It was coming here was always the better opportunity at every different stage because of all the different things that we were doing,
Plus, I was selfish. I still am.
Yeah.
I enjoy his company. So I said, why go anywhere? Spend more time with us.
Fair enough.
That's fair, yes.
Hardesh sir, you've spent years shaping Essentia and then you see Hridik shaping it now, right? Since he's an integral part of the company now. What was it like for you to, see him find his footing inside Essentia?
One thing that I haven't even told him probably, I think of myself as people's person, but Hridik, I think he's unnatural. He generally connects with people. He has loads of empathy. And I think he takes that responsibility also very seriously. So if he commits something, he'll make sure that the entire organization is committed towards, delivering whatever he commits. And I think that is a very good thing for such a young person to have that sense of responsibility. And then, and I think I have been in this field for 26 years, and I can say with absolute certainty that Hridik knows more architects and interior designers than I do.
He does.
Yeah. And often I get to hear, you're Hridik's dad, you're Hridik's dad, So
how is that, hearing that?
I don't know. So
Hridik's dad?
that's right. I think ultimately that's what every parent works for.
Yeah.
So that is nice. People recognize me, one, because we kind of look a little similar. There is some similarity. But so I go to events, which I don't do much. But wherever I go, at least few times I get to hear, you're Hridik's dad, So Hridik is that. So he has that going for himself, which is good.
Thank you.
Along the way, did you sort of decide when to guide him and, when to just simply observe and let him do his thing?
It's very difficult actually not to speak up when you think he could be doing better. That I think is every father's curse. So rationally, I know I shouldn't. He should be allowed to find his own path. And I know he's not vocal. The younger son is very vocal.
Okay.
So,
but
he still listens. He may not absorb, but I think most of the time they also understand what needs to be done. It's just that as a parent, it's difficult.
No, but
to
I
keep
think
quiet.
you've been genuine. Like I don't think that you've ever said something unnecessarily or something. I think he's more like a holding hand, and he's like a support system that I know that he's there to fall back on. And of course, I think he's given both Mahin and I a lot of opportunity to make our own mistakes and learn from them. I think that's a faster way of not repeating those mistakes later on in the future. But I think he's always been that support system, and he's always a lot of unsolicited advice, mostly appreciated.
Unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
It's a curse, The fathers
With
are
dads,
doomed to give it.
So I'm assuming that the dinner table conversations, they were always the same, like even when he was a kid, right? Like around Essentia. Those didn't change. How were they like?
He knew which project we have, what client, what are the challenges we are facing. Because, like I'm saying, he was always part of this environment.
Like, I still remember, this was long back. So dad, so one of dad's friends were over, and then we were going for dinner together. So I decided to hop in their car and go. And then these guys they were driving parallelly to us, and we stopped at a red light. And I asked Chachu to put the window down and ask him, how's Mr. Chug's house doing?
And you were actually discussing
because they were discussing that in the car at that very moment. I just knew it. And my mom's like, how is he listening?
Is there a mic in the car? Wow.
So
Um, is there like has there ever been a project or a situation where you've both looked at that very differently, like from two completely different perspectives or angles?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, sometimes, say he brings with him this enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think. Which I think at times it works well for us.
Yeah.
At times, I think it can be a little, the little bit of patience is maybe warranted. But other than that, I don't think. I think our values align, our beliefs align. I cannot recall a single instance where I might have said no,
Yeah.
that we won't do it. Even though it might be challenging for us, but I think we are also blessed with a team that also steps up. So sometimes we take undue advantage of that, but they always come through. So they've also spoiled us there.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So when you guys walk into any space, what is the first thing you sort of notice when it comes to design?
But see, design is also like art. You either like it or you don't. Mm, but because we are also contractors, so the only thing that my eyes get drawn to is what are the flaws?
What are the
You know,
flaws?
what things
Yeah.
could have been done better.
Okay.
I've now at least becoming more and more well versed with pointing out the flaws. But I think, yeah, I also definitely do appreciate a lot of different designs. It's hard to impress me with a good space because I think I've been so spoiled with
With
seeing such
yeah.
beautiful spaces through and
Yeah.
throughout. But yeah, when I do come across a good space, then I'm definitely appreciative of it. And then, but yeah, like he said, वो
Flaws-
कमियां निकालना
flaws as well.
is it
Good
would
design
yeah,
would be silent.
yeah.
When nothing jars your senses, then okay, everything works, and then you can start appreciating the finer details. Move away from the space. I walked into a showroom not too long ago, few days back. I couldn't stay there for 30
You
seconds.
couldn't? Why?
It was so overpowering. Even the fragrance, everything. All your senses were getting like bombarded. So much happening. Sometimes we call it portfolio syndrome. That a designer, if he or she has few arrows in her quiver, they want to showcase all of them in one project.
Yeah.
I can do this kind of molding, I can do this kind of
Yeah.
product, I can use this material, also this material. That I think is,
I mean, it should complement, right?
it should complement, and we always believe less is more. You don't need to introduce too many elements, too many products.
So every project sort of asks for something different, right? Different materials, different expectations. What are you sort of trying to understand first?
When we look at a project, see, we make bespoke spaces, which means what works for you will not work for Hridik. So we have to understand the lifestyle.
Okay.
Which means, and within a family, you could have contradictions. Within our family, we have so many contradictions. Within a very close-knit family also, you'll find differences.
For sure.
For us, the first thing is to understand those, to capture all of their requirements. Aaj ki, plus, the environment is dynamic. So things are likely to change 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
And when we build some spaces, we want them to last.
of course.
It's expensive, it's emotionally draining. You have to spend. It's not just about, sometimes people have deep pockets, so money does not matter as much, but the time involvement is still significant.
Yeah.
So we understand that, and we want our projects to last at least 20-25 years, if not more. Now I also understand that things change, requirements change, financial, I would say, standing change. So the people may end up using it for less.
Okay.
So that's why we don't want to overspend. Ultimately, what we do on interiors is an investment in sense that it elevates your lifestyle and it frees you to do so much more. But it's also a depreciating asset. So in that sense, we don't want to overspend, but still we want to plan and incorporate all the likely changes that may happen for next 20 plus years. So that engagement is important for us, and we spend a lot of time understanding. Simultaneously, we also want to understand their aesthetic preferences. What appeals to them, and there's because it's a lot of visual, it's relatively easy. We show them so many different options. So this interaction happens for a couple of weeks, if
Okay.
not more.
Okay.
Now, for example, I'll give you one thing. All the architects, they try to capture the movement of the sun. But if for somebody who wakes up at 11, what good is sun's direction at 7 a.m.? Or somebody who only has time at particular windows, then we need to incorporate that. We need to go a step further. So one, practicality is important. Functionality is important. If the house, like I said, if it works, then you don't notice it. If it doesn't, that's when it becomes a irritant.
Yeah.
And we want our spaces to accommodate all your requirements, encourage you to do the things that you enjoy doing, and insulate you from the things that you don't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, and then if we are able to get it right, then you don't observe it at all. Everything works whether you're on your own or whether you're throwing a party for 200 people. Suddenly, everything feels natural and feels in place.
So over time, Essentia has built a wide and a diverse portfolio, right, in terms of products. How do each of you decide what kind of a product belongs and what doesn't?
I think our inputs are more in terms of what are customers preferring, what's flying off more shelves, etc.
There's also the engineering aspect. What is manufacturable? But
I think otherwise then we give the design team, all the designers, and of course our internal design team also now is growing and is become very large in terms of only product design as well. So I think we give them the freedom to be able to design what they like, so that at least we're bringing their perspectives, their inputs as well. I think to make a killer product, you have about 3 main ingredients essentially, right? You've got the raw materials, which I think now fortunately in India we're able to access the finest raw materials. India itself is such a resource-rich country. Most of the marbles that you see, in fact, almost all of the marbles that you see we've used are humble Indian marbles. It's just that no one really cared for them because, but when we actually finish them with fine craftsmanship, you're able to actually see such good results from them, right? Which brings us to the next point about skilled labor. India has so much skilled labor,
For sure.
A lot of marble work that we do by hand also becomes prohibitively expensive in Europe or other countries like that because labor there is expensive. And then the third point is the design sensibilities, which I think, our entire organization themselves also, the ethos is design centric. He will defy physics, but designer ko mana nahi karenge. And then of course now bringing the global perspectives with the other designers. I think so it's a recipe for amazing products.
And, getting these other designers on board, it also gives us a new kind of learning. When our production department, because we were doing most of the manufacturing for our own projects, they did not have I think when they started, the option was not there to say no. If this was needed, if this was introduced in a project, it doesn't matter how difficult it is to manufacture, we need to do that. And because as a designer, we did not want to introduce same products in all our projects. So every project used to have new products. So they just got into that mindset that they are doing prototyping non-stop.
Okay.
And what it does is, when we got these new designers also, and they have, I think, mentioned it on so many occasions, that they find working with us very easy because that resistance is not there. The production department does not turn around and say, okay, hey, you have suggested this. Why don't you do this? Because it would be easy to manufacture. They don't have that mindset. If he has asked for something which is difficult to manufacture, they'll still go along. So yes, it does increase our production cost, but what it does is it elevates our design sensibility.
Yeah, I mean, it also pushes your capabilities further, right?
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rather than saying that, oh, we don't have this
We
or we
can't
don't
do
do
this,
this, we'll say,
yes.
okay,
Let's
new
do it,
opportunity to set something up.
How, like you said, you're constantly evolving and you see it as a startup. Legacy is always present, even if we do not talk about it. When you started taking responsibility here, did you ever sort of feel that quiet pressure that you had to live up to certain things?
I wouldn't say pressure is the right word, but I think definitely a responsibility. Today I've seen, almost my entire life, I've seen my parents work super hard, right? today. There is no reason why, if during a handover, my mom at the level that she is now has to stand at a site for, oftentimes I've seen her
Yeah.
stay at site for 48 hours, coming home only for a couple of hours, freshening up, going back. So it's that their dedication to their work, their passion, I think that's something that's been super inspiring. And it gives me that innate sense of responsibility that if they've created this, why do I let that effort go to waste, right? Rather to focus on building it, leaving a legacy, that surpasses all of us. And I think, yeah, so I think there's no pressure, but I think that genuine sense of responsibility to make it into something even larger, even bigger, to have
Yeah.
Essentia become a
Yes.
household name.
So when that shift sort of happened, in terms of legacy, Ridik taking responsibility, how did it change how you saw Essentia, the business?
I think it just gave us a little bit. I'm just being very open here. Had Reddy come to me and said, "I'm not interested in this, and I want to do something else," he could have very well said, "I'm not coming back. I'm staying put here in the
Yeah.
States, okay,
Yeah.
and I have no intention of coming back." What it would have done is it would have put us in, I suspect, in a wind down mode.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm 55.
Yes.
The projects that we do, sometimes the gestation period is 4-5 years. The large projects, sometimes they go. So do we continue growing, or do I
Just
start
manage
doing
what's
something that, okay, something which can happen on its own,
Yeah.
without any supervision? So I think with Ridik coming and with mine also showing indication, that has put us in a growth mindset. So in sense, so that aggression, has been renewed. If he would have not been there, then that would have been, I think, dampened.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I remember a younger one, he's not sensitive to what dad says or doesn't. So I was just telling him that mine, imagine, it's only mom and I. It was a couple of years back. Soon Bhai is going to join, and then you will join, and then Bhai's wife will join, and then your wife will also join, and hopefully their kids will join.
Yeah.
So he says, how many free labor resources do you need? He understands he's not going to get paid. Wife is not going to get paid. So he was like, how many do you need?
When you sort of look at the interiors landscape today, what do you think is different like today or feels different?
One of the major things which I think, and I think post-COVID, I would say, uh, people used to build spaces to impress others. And post-COVID, and I solidly endorse that,
Yeah.
that they do it for themselves. Like the living areas used to be nice,
Yeah.
but the public areas would be
Yeah.
simple, or not as much thought through. But now I think we always insisted, we always said, can each and every the cohesive story has to continue throughout the space.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Agar budget come hai, तो we'll use it judiciously throughout. But earlier there used to be resistance कि नहीं ये living area को अच्छा करेंगे, इसको
Just
कर
because
देंगे.
the guest
Now I
is
think
gonna
that
come
has
there.
changed a little. And people are spending, people are happy to, I think, invest on their own health, wellness. That has also increased. Everybody wants a spa in their home now. So I think a gym. The focus on wellness has increased, and also they become more inward centric, I would say. What appeals to them personally, rather than what screams or what advertises money being spent.
Yeah.
I think that has changed.
Are there things you've learned to be more careful or sensitive about over time?
Functionality, the utilities, your electrical work, your air conditioning, your
Yeah.
waterproofing, so that I think is sacrosanct now. We have understood, understood the hard way that any money saved there, it ends up costing much more. So we can compromise on what we use as a skin, as a cladding, but not on those.
Yeah.
So there you have to be absolutely rigid, that no compromise is there. There's no point making a home where you're spending 20,000-30,000 rupees per square foot, but then you save a few lakh rupees, and your air conditioning is at 26 degrees. So what that does is, and I'm guilty of that myself, that how often are we going to throw parties in the peak of summer? We won't. And that's what I did to save money. So we said, okay, plan it for 26 degrees. his birthday, my dad's birthday, it's all in summer. There's not a single party
Yeah.
that we have been able to do where we haven't regretted
Hmm.
not doing a proper air conditioning. So in sense, or waterproofing, don't skimp on that. So in sense, get the basics right, then you go after the other things. So if money is limited, first make sure you're spending on these things, and then whatever is left, you use it to glam up the space.
Okay, fair. Like closing this, for someone who's just starting out, what do you think they're worrying about more than they need to in their initial years?
Don't be too intelligent, and I don't mean it, I'm not being coy about it. What I mean by that is, if you start jotting down everything, what were the potential risks, the potential pitfalls, things that can go wrong, you're never going to be able to start the work. So I think don't think too much. Have a broad direction. This is where I want to go, and then go about it. Start.
Don't go into the nitty
Yeah,
gritties.
start.
When I started, I think my mandate was definitely, my focus is to work with architects, with designers, right? I was too skeptical that, wo mujhe, for the lack of a better word, like they won't give me enough attention, or they wouldn't maybe entertain me, ab meko bhav nahi denge, right?
Why?
That's what, like that was the fear. But I think once I started going out, meeting them,
Yeah.
understanding, people are willing to,
I've sort of
yeah.
realized that too.
So I think
People are
there
nice.
shouldn't be,
Yes.
yeah.
People are nice.
I
Generally.
feel there
Yeah.
are all kinds of people,
Yeah.
right? But generally, I
Generally,
feel
yeah, the general
they'll do
consensus
it.
is that
Yes.
everyone is willing to, show interest for genuine people who
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
enthusiastic
Yeah.
about their own field. So I think there shouldn't be no one should be scared to meet new people, meet industry stalwarts,
Yeah.
go out there and ask for work. I think usme sharam nahi aani chahiye. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I
You
learned
always
that
get-
pretty quickly. Huh?
जब कोई लीगल केस भी होता है ना, again, so there's learning everywhere.
Yes.
Now, and if the case is going in your direction and you feel that judge is favoring you,
Yeah.
is absolutely convinced that you are in the right, and you say, sir, ये भी दे दो, ये भी तो गलत हुआ है. So then the question becomes, did you ask in the original petition? If it isn't there, then it can't be given. So the first thing is ask for the sky. You may not get it, but मांगो तो सही.
हाँ.
तो काम मांगो, ज्यादा मांगो, मिल जाएगा. हो चल कभी कभी नहीं भी मिलेगा, लेकिन अगर मांगोगे ही नहीं, वो नहीं मिल रहा. Even if the other party wants to give it to you.
Yeah, it all comes down to pushing yourself, right? Like how much
Yeah.
you can take, whatever you can do.
Yeah, I think and that he's always imbibed in me. I should get it tattooed somewhere. Think big.
Think big.
So
किसी भी यंग स्टार्टअप के लिए ना मेरे 5 मंत्र हैं जो मैं हमेशा हर किसी को रिपीट करता रहता हूँ. स्टार्टिंग वन इज थिंक बिग. कि जो भी आपका प्लान है, एंड irrespective of what you want to do, even if you want to just explore, then why explore your Haryana? Why not the country? Why not the world? And then even think beyond कि जो मैं solar system करती हूँ, let me equip myself so that I can apply for going to Mars. And then अब बाकी interstellar possible ही नहीं है. सोचो तो सही, क्या पता you might be in a position to invent it.
Yeah, you have to be delusional, I think.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So
that's
that
the
little
right
bit of
word.
insanity. So पहले तो बड़ा सोचो. शाहरुख खान कभी भी नहीं बनता अगर उसकी सोच वैसी नहीं होती.
Right.
He just thought that I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And
he has that famous thing. He said it or who said it. कि even if I was a chane wala, I'd focus on being the
best
best
chane wala,
possible
na?
chane
Exactly.
wala. Yeah.
So पहले तो best होना है.
Yeah.
अगर एक्टर हो तो बेस्ट होना है, स्टार एंटरटेनर हो तो बेस्ट होना है, तो पहले तो सोच बड़ी कर दो. फिर मुझे लगता है उसके अलावा क्या, बी गुड. जो रेपुटेशन है ना, वो बनाने में टाइम लगता है. So if you start early, it's better. Start with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, then with your clients, with your suppliers, जो भी है. Just be good. मैं ये भी accept करता हूँ कि sometimes people can pretend to be good. But मुझे लगता है long term में pretend करने से आसान है अच्छा होना. क्योंकि वो it will be far tougher to pretend over a longer period of time.
Absolutely.
दूसरा थर्ड आता है अपने आप को जानो, पहचानो. A degree of objectivity is needed here because there will always be things which you can't do, don't want to do, don't enjoy doing. Understand strengths क्या हैं, weaknesses क्या हैं, what are the things which you are never going to be good at. Once you have understood this, then go about plugging these gaps.
Yeah.
You can, मैंने किया, I married one. No, Monica is so detail oriented, I could never be. I'm a more big picture guy.
Okay.
No, she's willing to spend days poring over one layout until it feels perfect. Okay, I can't do that. I don't have the patience. I would say, जल्दी करो. You know, गलत भी कर दिया कोई बात नहीं.
And then
But
get on with the
speed
next.
is important. But then
Yeah.
she complements that speed with detail, which I would have not been able to do. So if you can't marry, partner. If you can't partner, hire. If
Yeah.
you know, plug those gaps. That is
Yeah.
important. And lastly, you have decided कि मैंने बड़ा सोच लिया, मेरे को अपने बारे में जो कमियां थी वो मैंने देख ली, मैंने एक अपना ब्रांड पोजीशनिंग करनी शुरू कर दी कि आई एम नाइस, आई एम गुड, गैप्स प्लग हो गए, पार्टनरशिप आ गई, टीम बन गई है, एंड देन द लास्ट एंड द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट थिंग, परसिवियर. करो और फिर करते रहो. यू नो, 1 साल कुछ नहीं होगा, 2 साल कुछ नहीं होगा, थोड़ा थोड़ा 3 साल बाद होगा, फिर 4 साल बाद होगा. दैट कंपाउंडिंग इफेक्ट, एज इन investing, same thing here. The compounding takes time. So the longer you are committed to doing that, you know, diligently, तो आएगा.
Yeah.
थोड़ा जल्दी आएगा, थोड़ा लेट आएगा, लेकिन
Consistency
yeah,
is important.
स्विमिंग सीख
Yeah.
रहे हो तो आएगी.
Yeah.
हफ्ते में नहीं आएगी. किसी को, somebody is, you know, athletic, naturally talented, हो सकता है हफ्ते में सीख जाए, किसी को साल लग जाएगा, पर आएगी क्यों नहीं? Yeah, absolutely. Hard work will always beat talent. No matter how talented you are, if you're not willing to put in the effort, so that is more important, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. ये 5 मंत्रास हैं. किसी भी फील्ड में कुछ भी करना हो, I don't think there's another thing that you need. But ठीक है, फिर से unsolicited ज्ञान ना.
नहीं,
नहीं,
this one was
it's good
solicited.
ज्ञान, yes.